High priestess in the building didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain and I cleansed in the rain. Down out, I was worth it and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.
To the point where my mom used to throw things. My mom
Right.
threw a knife and ended up hitting my brother instead of my sister with the knife. And back in the day, police didn't pay no mind to that stuff. You
No.
know. So, and then when I got older and I got healthier, then I started getting the whoopings, and I just felt like I couldn't even openly express myself to my
Right.
parents
Right.
because if I tried, you know, I just always felt alone
Mm,
because, I and I would, you know, how do you say, uh, back away from my family. My
right.
sister, she ran away. My
Mm,
brother, he thought he was the boss and he would try to control me and my sister. And, so she would run away. I would stay alone and, be the black sheep with my sister because
right.
once my sister ran away, she ran away and she jumped into another religion and she did all that kind of stuff. And, when she did come back, I ended up taking her in and she was pregnant. She was all in clothes and
Mm,
I was always, I was just the black sheep. But the point was, they never talked about it. They only say you to still do this and that. But when my sister did finally come back, and they did accept her, then we had a deal with her boyfriend,
right.
and it was nothing but physical altercations, and you know, I mean, deadly physical altercations, not just family. The rest of the family cut my family out like it was the black sheep of the entire family. My mom's sisters wouldn't talk to her. My dad's family, God rest my not my grandmother or my grandfather, but his brothers, they were just as worse. So he wouldn't even talk to them. But my mom's side of the family just cut my mom off of everything because what my sister decided to do was when she ran away because she was molested. Um, and being, abused physically, um, she ran away. And then when she ran away, she went to be with a black man, an African. Who cares? It goes back to the world. But he was
Right.
Muslim. He made her be a Muslim, and who cares? That was her free will. But you know what? With my parents, it didn't matter. But when she came back, I took her in. I brought her in, and I was the one, that made them, because it was either it was an ultimatum: either you do this or you lose both, you know. And they didn't want to lose me because they didn't want me to turn out like her. So,
Right.
hey, but we just ran and ran and ran, and the family just continued. Yeah, to the point where even my brother then physically altercated my sister. You know,
Mm,
she never stayed home. She had like 7 kids because she wasn't mentally. I have a lot of mental uh, disabled people in my family. My sister was slow. My other sister is bipolar. My brother has just, a neurological impairment. There was a lot of different mental, and I think that contributes to my parents being alcoholics. You know,
right. Right. Right.
and with me, my mom didn't even want to get pregnant no more, so she stayed on the pill until she couldn't even take the pill no more because being pregnant with me, she starting to get sick. because she was taking a pill and being pregnant with me. It was either one or the other, but I wasn't going nowhere until, I,
Determined to come in.
yeah. But I ended up coming prematurely, so I did come out, a
Yeah.
little bit sick and, a little bit of issues. But I came out and I was straight. I had my little issues, but I'm good. So, but the family dysfunction, that's when it comes down to, like I was saying, it's just not always being a single mom. It's just not always being a single dad. It's
Right.
even with your parents being together,
Right.
And when I decided, when I had my family, my husband and me are perfect. We've been together 35 years. We had our ups and downs. My two daughters are single parents. My youngest daughter is somewhat here and there single parent, and my oldest daughter is definitely a single parent. And my son, he was a preemie, so he has his mental disorders. But my parents, you cannot be in a family relationship and think that being married is the ultimate sacrifice and be happy about it and think that's the best thing to do, because it's not. But sometimes you have to separate.
Right. 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 I think you do have to get to this point where you can acknowledge that you're both in a toxic place, and being two toxic people together just because you love to love each other is not going to make it better. My mom and my dad were very toxic together. They should have split. I was actually 16 when I got emancipated and I left home because I was over it. I was like, I'm over it. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this shit no more. You guys do you. I'm gonna go live my life, and you guys, shits crumble. At that point, I didn't care. It was just like I'm over it. They had a lot of bad habits and a lot of just their fighting and carrying on, and the drinking and all of that. It was just like when I got to 16, I was just like I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was just like I'm over it. I just can't be in this house. I don't want to be in this house. I don't want to be in the negativity. So that's why I say we have to get to this point. And I know we all have work when you have a dysfunctional family, you're coming from a place of where no one knows how to get help. There's no one who knows how to get help. Nobody's gotten any help. And not to say just traditional therapy, because there's so many ways to heal. There's so many ways to get help. But we didn't have any of that, right? So at some point, you have to take that step back and say that I don't want this. This is not okay. I don't, you have to see it for what it is. I don't ever want to be in a relationship. And one of the things I started to do with my daughter's father was just be together because we were together because we had a kid, you know. Oh, I guess we're going to make it work because we got a kid. And then when we started arguing back and forth, and it was just a constant going back and forth, I just remember I had a breaking point and I had my daughter in my arms, and we're arguing, we're screaming, and she's in my arms crying. And that was my breaking point to just say, the fuck are we doing? We don't even get along. What's the point? you know, we're not getting anywhere. It's just getting worse. So at what point do we take that accountability to be like, you know what? Maybe we do need a fucking break. Maybe I need to go get help. Because I do feel like my mom and dad needed their separate help. They needed to go to rehab. They needed to go, and fix themselves. And then maybe they could have came back sober, and who knows what would have happened. But that drinking, the drugs, and all of that stuff, that changes you. You're not the same person. And if you're angry and if you're hurt, that all comes out when you're drinking. All of that comes out. And then you push all of that onto your children.
Yeah. That's like, when I was younger and I was having my, I had, you're familiar with this. I had a really bad pregnancy and I got really sick. And I lost the baby. But, I pretty much had a breakdown. Yeah, I wasn't there for my oldest daughter. And we she remembers this and she recalculates this all the time.
Right.
And just the other day, she went off on me again about this. You weren't there for me. This, and I pretty much broke down, And
Right.
I'm like, but she didn't know what I was going through, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And I can't go, and I explained to her somewhat, but how can I can't explain to her and then I can't fix it either because no,
Right.
I wasn't there for her because of
Right.
what I was going through. But I can't say I'm sorry because I am sorry, but I'm sorry that I wasn't there, but I can't help you as I wasn't there for you because I had to be there for you emotionally. I had to be there for you in some kind of way, but I couldn't be there for you emotionally the way that I needed to be. And
Right.
because I wasn't there for her emotionally the way that I needed to be there for her, she always brings that up when she gets angry with me.
Right. Right. Right.
And that ends up hurting my feelings really bad.
Right.
And, you know, so sometimes I get really bad anxiety from it. Then I
Right.
get angry. And I
Right.
have to cut that down. But, I just let it go. And I talk to my husband about it. And we have really good communication about it. And my other daughter and I have a good communication about it. And my son is just like his father, overprotective, and he just what. But
Right.
anyway, but she doesn't understand, and in a way she understands, but it's like she has PSTD. It's so
Of
backflashes
course.
with hers.
You
Yeah,
know, one of the things about it is no matter what you say, you can't take that away from her
no,
because she went through it. She experienced it, right? And I've also, similar with my daughter of just working too much and not, not being home, left her alone, And as much as it's like, damn, that's why I didn't want you to feel abandoned. I didn't want you to feel alone. You still did. And there's nothing, I can't take that away from her. I do, I did apologize as well. But the reason I was going to say why it keeps coming up when she's angry is because she hasn't set with the child version of herself. So her child version of herself keeps coming out when she's angry because she hasn't set with that side of her. So, like that kind of meditation I've done with everyone, if she did that, she'd be able to sit with that younger version of her and console that version of her. And she needs to do that. That's the only way that she's going to work through a lot of that PTSD because you can't do anything. You could say sorry until your face is blue, and that's not going to change the little one inside her that's screaming because it's really screaming for her to acknowledge the issue, but also be that kind of like see and feel it and release it. Um, but yeah, you can't take that away. It's like not everybody means to create the dysfunction, right? Some of this shit is not like I didn't mean to become this person. This is not how I saw my life, right? But shit happens. It does. The biggest thing is not to let things go on for years and years and years and not discuss it. One of the things I do with my grandsons is when they start shutting down, it's like, no, talk about it. What's going on? Express what's going on within you. Don't just shut down. Don't just cut it off. Don't just say you don't know. Let's talk about it. Put it on the table. Vent. And sometimes that's a struggle because sometimes they will just shut down and it's just like, no, 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 let's not do that. Oh, it's a rough one, I think, being a parent, period. And then when you're going through mental issues, and I had a lot of depressive episodes throughout my daughter's childhood. Most of it I did it in secret. Most of it I kept on that face to do it in secret. And there was a lot of times where it was like a lot. It's a lot to be a parent, regardless to if you have a husband or not. It's a lot to be a parent to take on child's emotions and what they have going through, especially when you have your own trauma. You know, I told my daughter, when she was a baby, unfortunately, I still loved her, but I had so much panic, so much fear that she was going to die like her first sister. I did not get to enjoy bringing her home. I actually wanted to stay in the hospital longer. When they were like, "Oh, we're going to release you," I started to panic. I was in full fucking panic mode. Like, no, don't we need to stay here? Like, does she need to stay here longer? And they're like, no, we're gonna give you a monitor. You'll be okay. But I was in this panic mode, and that takes away from your experience as mom when you've gone through this trauma with another child. She's not gonna understand that because she's never had to go through that. She'll never fully, no matter what you say, she'll never fully understand that because she doesn't know what it feels like to go through that.
Well, my daughter, she was pregnant with twins, and she lost them because
Mm,
she has she can't hold children. She has
mm,
to get sewn up. And then when she had my grandson, she got sewn up. And then right before she was due, they released, they unsewed her. So she lost her twin girls. That
mm.
was pretty traumatic for her.
Right.
And then she got pregnant again, and right before she was going to get sewn up again, she lost the baby.
Right.
So that she went and got. So and so she knows the experience.